Dude, you okay? Oh, okay. Well, I'm just gonna go back to reading, alright? You good? Oh, okay. Winter sports people are nuts. Hi, everyone. It's your friend, Callie. My filming schedule might be a little off, but I didn't have all my ideas together yet, and a lot of this is contingent on what I'm reading and what I can manage to get done, and the fact that Pal World came out, and well, I have been busy. But I've kept up reading, of course, and I wanted to do little updates here and there. So this is an update and review of my reads for January, including my top 3 titles from that month. So, in January, I finished 6 books. I read half of another one, but we'll put that one in February. Here they are. First, St. Ambrose School for Girls by Jessica Ward. The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston. Poor Dear by Claire Oshetsky. A Crown of Ivy and Glass by Claire Legrand. The Writing Retreat by Julia Bartz. And then Hello Beautiful by Anne Napolitano. I probably screwed up a lot of those names. I'm sorry, authors. It was a busy month, and let me tell you, my book tracking crochet project is looking amazing. But let's get to the meat of things, the reason you're here. What were my favorite of the batch? Here are my top 3 from my reading list in January 2024. First, let's talk about The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston. Are there issues with this book? I'm sure. But I was so charmed and fell in love with it, straight away. All of these issues and red flags are invisible to me. I felt like Ashley Poston had somehow got to know me and wrote this specifically to speak to my soul. Now, what does that say about me? That I'm so generic of a human being that a romance novel meant to target women in their 30s experiencing existential dread that comes with leveling up in adulthood can just bring me to my knees? None of your business! Don't judge me! The book is about Florence Day, a woman who grew up in a close-knit family in a small town. Her family was well known, for better or worse, seeing as how they're the town's funeral home. And the thing with death is, everyone has to handle it someday. Florence was well known in town too, but not exactly well liked growing up. So as soon as she could, she got away. And now she lives in basically the opposite of her hometown, New York City, where she's pursuing her writing career. She got a job as a ghostwriter, writing romance novels for a prolific author, and her newest novel is due to the publisher finally after securing several extensions over the past year. She used to be able to write romances with no problem, the words just streaming out of her, but then the breakup happened. It was one of those bad ones, the ones that change you forever. For Florence, it made her stop believing in love, so she shows up to her meeting with her editor. Unfortunately, it's a new editor, and he's extremely handsome, and she's an anxious mess of a person, clinging to a cactus in a prayer that she can convince him to give her yet another extension. From there, the book winds Florence's journey in gentle spirals of memories and joy and grief and healing. You meet the people in her life, are introduced to her anxiety, her fears, her trauma, and casually, she just drops the fact that she sees and speaks to ghosts as if it were nothing more special than being left-handed or enjoying cycling. It turns out our ghostwriter is also a ghost talker. That was dumb. It's a family gift that only seems to touch the firstborns of the Day clan, and that Florence only shares with her father. She doesn't really mention it again for several chapters, but it becomes very important when Florence receives a late-night phone call informing her that her father has passed away. She goes to her hometown, back to the funeral home where she grew up, to handle her father's funeral as a family. And then there is someone at the door, and when Florence answers it, she realizes it's a ghost. The expectation that it's her father is quickly dashed as he focuses into being, and the ghost in front of her is Benji Andor, her hot editor, who she had just seen the day before. It's a romance novel for sure, with many tropes throughout, but it also explores so much of existence as an adult, trying to contend with loss and the malleability of one's own identity. There's fragility in love, in relationships, and family and life, and I think Ashley Poston explores these realities with the lens of romance as a genre, and it comes together in a charming and deeply emotional story. The book is not timeless. There are references to current fiction and jokes about media and Taylor Swift. It was made for a person in 2020-something who is orbiting 30 years old and suffering from the same kind of identity crises and anxieties about the world that we all kind of feel right now. It's an easy read, but a powerful one that enveloped me in warm blankets and fuzzy feelings, so obviously I recommend it. Yep, absolutely. But don't expect this one to be held up in the timeless literary classics, and that's okay. The book has a powerful message about how even a little romance novel can be profound to someone else. And I think that this one is a huge example of that for me. Okay, next up. I read Hello Beautiful by Anne Napolitano. It's a literary novel that kept me captivated the whole way through. It was shifting point of view, starting with William Walters, who grew up in a grief-ridden home by two broken parents who lost their 3-year-old daughter just days after William was born. His parents never truly showed him much affection or love. I mean, it was so bad that the kid couldn't cough in their presence. He had to hide in a closet every time he had a cold. Above all, though, they never talked about his big sister Caroline. Raised in a cloud of their unaddressed grief, William grew up to be an insecure and unfocused young man. The only thing that ever accepted him in his whole childhood, though, was basketball. And that became his family, his comfort, his refuge. He started playing when he was a boy, and continued all through his youth, and even got into college with a sports scholarship. University is where he met Julia Padavano, a smart, serious, and focused young woman with a close-knit family and a bit of an obsession with making and sticking to plans. Plans for her life, plans for everyone around her. Julia is close to her 3 sisters, Sylvie, Cecilia, and Emmeline, but a relationship with Sylvie is the closest. She meets William and plans for him to be her future husband. William is directionless, but takes to her instantly, enchanted by her family and taking comfort in her guidance. He never really says what he wants, but he's never expressed what he wants before. I'm not certain if he understands what it means to want something. So that becomes the basis of Julia and William's relationship, that he's a blank slate to take her direction without resistance, and she has the motivation to plan out the directions of their life. So they get married after graduating college, and start the beginnings of what Julia thinks is an idyllic life. But it all falls apart when the family is hit with tragedy, scattering the Padavanos across the country as a result. Julia can barely cope, as all her plans fall apart. She tries to course correct in ways that push William to the edge, sinking him into the depression that he grew up with, and he attempts to take his life after leaving Julia and their infant daughter, to try to spare them from his darkness. Julia wants nothing to do with him then, leaving Sylvie to pick up the pieces. Sylvie, who not only has seen the darkness in William, but has shared it in some ways. Earlier in Julia and William's marriage, the two of them shared a spark of a moment, one that they shot down immediately, and both of them felt that danger and kept their distance. But now that Julia has wiped her hands of the man, and pushed Sylvie to handle the doctors and hospitals, they are forced into proximity. The drama continues to unfold as William and the sisters cope, and they discover what family and ultimately what love means. That there is a difference between the expectation of what life should look like and how it actually plays out. This is a beautifully written book, and another one that deals with parental death, and I don't know why I keep doing this to myself. My therapist thinks it's telling, but it's not like I know that there's going to be dead parents in it when I pick the book.
If you say so. Anyway.
This is a beautiful story of family and heartbreak and healing, and how people live on through the stories we tell of them. How, not speaking their lives deprives the surviving generations of knowing the love you still have in your heart for them. Okay, moving on to my last favorite. Taking a very drastic turn, this one is The Writing Retreat by Julia Bartz. This novel is about Alex, a young aspiring author who is entrenched in the New York author publishing world. A recent and dramatic, possibly violent, friend breakup has left Alex on the outs with her entire friend group. But she still has plenty of connections in the writing world, meaning she also has plenty of painful opportunities to run into her more popular and glamorous ex-bestie, Ren. Alex and Ren became friends quickly. They were very close, working, socializing, and even living together. They were stuck to each other's hip and maybe a little, read a lot, toxic. They had a shared love of an influential and highly regarded feminist author, Rosa Vallow. The two of them had even entered a contest to join in a month-long writing retreat with her. But the dream of spending a month with a writing idol was dashed when they didn't make the cut. However, their mutual friend had a connection with Vallow's agent, and just before the retreat was about to start, they found out there was an occupancy, and Alex was chosen. Oh yeah! The catch? Ren was too.
Well, shit.
Alex initially considers bailing, but powers through, carried by the prospect of spending a month with her idol, and maybe she can glean some wisdom from her. The retreat is set in Vallow's home, a mansion with a dark history that is said to be haunted by the ghost of the former lady of the house. But as Alex and all the other attendees arrive, the home seems to be the least of the horrors to deal with. Vallow demands that they start fresh with brand new novels that they will write over the 28-day period. They must write 3,000 words every day, attend daily workshops, and contend with Vallow's eccentric mood swings and sometimes blatant cruelty. For Vallow, it's not just a competition, but a game, an opportunity to fuck with their minds, and it often seems like she's pitting the women against each other. Alex was dealing with some intense writer's block since the breakup with Ren. But then, Vallow strong-arms Alex into writing a story about the ghost who is said to wander the halls at night. Daphne was the former lady of this house. She had married into wealth and grew a fascination with the occult while living there. It is said that she became a demon worshipper. All that is really confirmed is that both her and her husband's remains were found in the house, and the place remained empty until Vallow bought and renovated the mansion. At first, Alex didn't really feel any connection with the story, but then, like magic, Alex is overflowing with inspiration. It's almost as if the demoness that Daphne worshipped is now filling Alex with a similar power. The retreat is going along as planned until an upset involving a knight tripping on LSD leaves one member of the group missing, having apparently left the mansion in the middle of a snowstorm. The storm knocked out the phones and stranded the group as the main road is snowed in. With the threat of danger over all of them, Val's behavior turns more intense, and the girls question her integrity as they are dropped into a survival situation that quickly goes from tense to deadly. This was a great debut novel for Bartz. There's a lot to unpack about feminism and the relationship between women, power, and the demonization of feminine strength and sensuality. The LSD-fueled sapphic demon orgy scene Alex went on may have been a little heavy-handed, but it was the portion of the book where I couldn't stop reading, and I may have stayed up until dawn finishing it. But it was fast-paced, tense, and the kind of book you don't want to put down until you get your questions answered. And that's it, my top reads for January. Here's a quick look at my stitches for my crochet book tracking project if you're interested. And if you're wondering what I think of the other books, you should definitely check out my Instagram. I post a quick review every time I finish a book and updates on how the long cat is coming. So, have you read any of these titles? What did you think of them? And if you have a book recommendation, I'm always ready to hear one. Let me know down below. If you want more book reviews, literary takes, or just general stories from my life, maybe think about giving that subscribe button a little boop. And then maybe the like button too? Your support means a lot to me. Anyway, that's it. Take care and see you next time.